2012 at 6:30 will now come to order. Ms. McNamara, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Spangler?
Here.
Mr. Payne?
Here.
Mr. Nunley? Mrs. Wright?
Here.
Ms. Sellis?
Here.
Mr. Worthy?
Here.
Ms. Williams?
Here.
Mr. Huff?
Here.
Mrs. Thornton?
Here.
Thank you very much. We had an election last Monday night, re-election of president, vice president, and I was re-elected as president. Mr. Huff was elected as vice president, and I need to have a motion to ratify this.
So moved.
Well, moved by Dr. Spangler. She raised her hand first, and seconded by Mr. Nutley. All in favor? Thank you very much. Unanimous decision. Okay. We have any amendments to the agenda?
President Worthy, I have no amendments for this evening.
Need a motion for adoption?
So moved.
Moved by Mr. Payne, seconded by Mr. Huff. All in favor? Unanimous vote. Thank you very much. Okay. At this time, I'd like for you to stand and join us in the silent meditation. We'll follow that with the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, item A, recognition of achievements and awards. Lisa? Thank you.
Good evening, Mr. President, Mr. Superintendent, and members of the board. I am pleased to recognize many outstanding individuals from the Clarke County School District tonight. Honorees, when I call your name, please come forth, accept your certificate, and shake the board members' hands. First is a Math Olympiad National honoree. Winterville has a group of 4th and 5th graders who participate in Math Olympiads, which is an advanced math problem-solving program. They meet 1 hour a week, and Janet Campbell, 5th grade teacher, and Mona Hines in Gifted work with them. The students took a test at the end of the quarter. Over 60,000 students from across the U.S. took the exam, and 6% of those students scored a perfect score. We had one of those perfect scoring students at Winterville.
Oh, wow.
Jason Linares, are you here? Jason. And we'd also like to recognize his coaches, Janet Campbell and Mona Hines. Are you here?
Keep up the good work. Good work you've done.
Congratulations for you and him and all the other students. I can tell. Good job. It's very exciting. Very good
So
job.
glad you shared that day.
Great job.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. And next, the regional stock market winners. Each year, the Georgia Council on Economic Education brings the stock market game to students across the state of Georgia. Elementary through high school students play the game each spring and fall semester for 10 weeks, starting off with a hypothetical portfolio of $100,000 and researching publicly traded companies on the internet, reading business publications, and crunching the numbers to select stocks. The team from each school district or geographic region, in the case of independent schools, with the highest portfolio value at the end of 10 weeks wins. This year's winner of the Athens-Clarke County region, which includes all participating Clarke County schools, as well as Oconee County schools, was from Cedar Shoals High School. We'd like to recognize the team who made a profit of $95,000. investing largely in $5 health stocks. In addition to winning the regional competition, their score was good enough to take third place in the state. Wow. We'd like to recognize the team Ebony Arnold, come on up. Jamario Calhoun.
Congratulations.
Mia Cooper.
Good things from it.
Raquel Edwards.
Keep up the good work.
And their advisor,
Keep up the good work.
Gavin Matesic. Great job.
I know who'll come see when I get ready to invest my money.
Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Terrific work.
Thank you. We had lots of fun.
Y'all can invest. Congratulations.
That's all right.
And now we have our 4-star award winners. Our first winner is Jennifer Cumnick, and she was nominated for this award by school counselor Kim Turner. And Jennifer is a school social worker. Is she here? Yes. Come on up. And this is what Kim Turner had to say about you. Jennifer's strengths lie in her dedication to detail and calm demeanor in a crisis. Social workers are usually given families in situations that require intensive interventions. Jennifer always responds quickly and is able to problem-solve situations effectively. She is highly knowledgeable about community resources and is aware of the best way to access these services. Having multiple schools and staff to serve can be difficult, but Jennifer is able to balance the needs of many and respond to a high volume of referrals. Lastly, she is incredibly kind and patient with our students, families, and staff. Her capacity for caring is infinite. I have worked for 3 different school systems, and I would easily put Jennifer in the top 1% of helping professionals. She is highly deserving of this award. Congratulations. And next, Dr. Amy Peacock, the Science Curriculum Coordinator, and she was nominated for this award by her mentee teacher, Lakeisha Tate. Dr. Peacock? And this is what Ms. Tate had to say about you. Dr. Peacock is so very deserving of the honor of being a 4-star employee. She epitomizes the vision of the Clarke County School District by making science accessible to all students. Nevermore was that demonstrated more than by her help in getting our teams of 5 new science teachers prepared and ready to begin classes. She went beyond obligation by sharing with us her recipe for success, which included tools and aid in establishing the first units of instruction based on the past year's successful data. This built the foundation for our students to exceed the norms for the first cycle of benchmark testing. By extending herself to each of us before, during, and after school, we started the school year building on her past success. As the new science curriculum coordinator for the entire district, she will bring the nature and zeal of science to each and every classroom. Congratulations. And next, Grace Stanishevsky, 5th grade teacher at Fowler Drive Elementary School, and she was nominated for this award by Kate Arnold, the district math coach. And this is what she had to say about Grace. Grace is a very dedicated teacher and models lifelong learning with her students. She has been a part of the Math and Science Partnership Grant in the past and has used that experience to develop a classroom environment where students become independent learners. Through the relationships she builds with students, she is able to get the students excited about math and science. Her test scores on the CRCT and benchmark supports the dynamic learning environment she creates in her classroom. Last spring, she had more than 90% of her 2 math classes pass the CRCT. She sets high expectations for her students and provides them with the tools needed to achieve them. When a student is struggling, she will ask what else she can do to help the student achieve the standard. She works well with other teachers by sharing what works for her and ideas to improve her own instruction. It has always been a pleasure to work with Grace. She is enthusiastic about learning and applying new knowledge gained in professional learning communities. She is reflective about what and how she teaches. So congratulations, Grace, who is also the Teacher of the Year for Fowler Drive Elementary School. Congratulations. And finally, Sonia Winfrey, who is a paraprofessional at Whit Davis Elementary School, and she was nominated for this award by Andrea Sherman, 5th grade teacher. And here's what she had to say. Ms. Winfrey is a dedicated woman that works hard to ensure that every child is taught. She believes that everyone can learn and helps ensure that that learning occurs daily in our classroom. Her rapport with students that other staff members cannot reach is incredible. Children with behavior problems respect and listen to her. She does not give up on any child and spends her time working with them one-on-one for as long as it takes for them to master the standards. I would not be able to teach without her daily assistance. She is an asset to our classroom. She deserves the 4-star award for going above and beyond her duties. She covers classrooms when people are absent, works school duties, is responsible for 2 classrooms, and never lets anyone down. I am impressed daily at what she is able to accomplish in such a short time. Congratulations. On behalf of the Clarke County School District, I would again like to thank all of you for your service. You represent your school district and community very well, and we sincerely appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
President Worthy, Superintendent Lanou, ladies and gentlemen of the board. Month after month, we sit or stand and watch NISA give out awards for achievement as well as recognition, and she does it so eloquently, and she does such a great job. But tonight, we're going to give Anissa 3 awards. Right. So, Ms. Jimenez, would you come forward, please? I'm just going to read these, and you go around and get the salutatory handshake, and you can start with me.
That's why you asked me how to pronounce my last
That's it. You go pay for that one. And I'm going to read this one. The first one is Award of Excellence presented on the 12th day of January 2012 to Anissa Sullivan Jimenez for receiving the Georgia School Public Relations Association Gold Award of Excellence for the 2010-11 activity calendar. That's the first one. The second one says, presented to Anissa Sullivan Jimenez on January the 12th, 2012, for receiving the Georgia School Public Relations Association's Gold Award for Excellence for the Love Your Neighborhood School campaign. All right. And number 3. This is an award of excellence to Anissa Sullivan Jimenez for receiving the Georgia School Public Relations Association Best in Category Award for the 2010-2011 Activities Calendar. Congratulations.
Standing. That's a nice surprise.
Again, it's. I can't think of a better way to start our meetings. Just let you know all the hard work and the accolades and what you do bring joy to our hearts. And I think it's pretty easy to tell from myself and the board that it doesn't get any better than to have us be able to shake your hands and thank you for what you do. And I see Jason, that's your dad. He's pretty proud, should be. As well as your teachers and our team. I think all of us might call you probably for investments. Some of us aren't doing so good. And of course to our teachers and our support staff and to Anissa, who certainly works hard. But to all of those, I think I speak on behalf of the board. You just make our evening start on such a positive note, and thank you for all you do for our schools.
Thank you, Dr. Lanou. We're going to go ahead and move the agenda. We're down to item B, minutes of our previous meetings. We had 2, December the 8th, and had a call meeting December the 15th. I'll have a motion for approval. Motion moved by Mr. Payne, seconded by Mr. Huff. Questions pertaining to the minutes? All in favor? Unanimous vote. Motion passed. Superintendent's report, Dr. Lanou.
Superintendent's report as usual. You'll see your important packet in the yellow and for your information packet in the green. Have a number of announcements and good news. First of all, I sent information out and it'll hit the press, I hope, tomorrow, is that the Governor Deal announced 11 recipients for the Race to the Top grants. And those are very competitive grants. This is a grant that we had been working on with the University of Georgia, It is a grant to support our new teachers. It falls under the guise of teacher induction programs and under Race to the Top of how you support effective teaching. And it is just under $1 million over the next 3 years. It will allow and strengthen the partnership with the University of Georgia as we build teacher leaders. It allows our master teachers to engage in truly observing our inductee teachers and giving them advice and mentoring them in a whole different way. So for us to receive $1 million for our efforts in developing an innovative grant to produce and to develop good teachers along with the University of Georgia is certainly something to celebrate, and we found that out late yesterday afternoon. So you'll see our name in there with the University of Georgia. Also, Superintendent John Bards announced today the Title I Distinguished Schools. I'm proud to announce that we have 13 Title I Distinguished Schools this year. And so again, we gain every year. But 13 of our schools have received that honor for the work that they've done in schools that are economically disadvantaged, and certainly couldn't be more pleased with that. The other is a piece of information that I don't think people know, but we were certainly reviewing our advanced placement data, and that was a result of us tonight having an agenda about AP exams. But if you didn't know that there are 17 state and national AP tests that are given in 7 categories. For the Clarke County schools, in 14 of them, we, on the average, exceeded both the national and the state mean in 14 categories of our kids taking AP exams. So I think, and as you look at information, that certainly, I think, speaks well to the continued improvement that we're having with the AP curriculum and what our kids are doing. So you combine that with more students taking the AP exam, and I think that's a good indicator of success. The next is it's an invitation. It's an invitation if you're not doing too much on MLK Day, and I want to really thank Rick Dunn and his efforts as we've got a project that he's put together that I think is really exciting. All those students that have dropping out, we're going to find them. And on Monday. And I want to read. Do you have the letter, Lynn?
This is what I got, is it?
There was sorry, no, didn't have it. Okay, what Rick had.
Reclamation.
What Rick will be doing, what we'll be doing on Monday morning, we'll be meeting at 8:30 at the H.T. Edward Project. We have a list of students in which that have dropped out. We're going to visit them. We're going to contact them. We're going to talk to them. So we have a number of volunteers. I know certainly I'll be there, Mr. Hardaway, central office, anyone in the school district. And our goal is to go knock on their door and to find out, what they're doing and that they need to come back to school. As a result, already we have 10 that we have back as a result just of hearing that we're going door to door. So you know what, you can read into it whatever you want, but they heard we're coming. I don't think we're that intimidating, but someone did, so they're back in school. But again, I want to thank Rick Dunn and his efforts to, again, that relentless effort that's to listen. If something's in your way, we need to find out what it is. We need to get you back into school. So that will be 8:30 at the H.T. Edwards Complex. That's where we'll meet. We'll pick up our team packets, and off we will go. The next, just to let you know that we continue to do impact checks. As I stated earlier, we started that last year with our team, and so we have been meeting with every leadership team and reviewing their school improvement plans. These are hard conversations, hard in that I think they're very focused in terms of the improvement efforts that they have and the progress that they're making. We take putting together our school improvement plans very, very serious, and so we've done four or five already, and it's just a good process. It's that accountability loop, and so I'm really thankful Dr. Price and Mr. Hardaway and myself and Marcia Green's here, and certainly Ms. Special Ed, and we meet with the leadership teams, and I think this just shows that constant conversation about achievement. I'm really pleased with that. Also, I'd like to say that I have been staying, probably more so than in the past, in contact with our state legislators. You know that we're in legislative session, and certainly there are a number of legislative matters regarding schools that come out through the House and the Senate. I feel being able to contact and at least give perspective that they may or may not have is important. So I've probably made 6 or 8 and was on the phone to several just today. Good. As new legislative pieces come to the table. I feel pleased that they're able to call, or I can call them and have a conversation about what the implications would be for our school. And for me, at least as superintendent, I think it's probably been more robust this year than it's been in the past. So I'm real pleased with that. The other is that we have a work session, as you know, on the budget. What you're doing, we don't have to discuss it now, but certainly please take a look at this draft. You can see that the work session is on January 31st. This is the 3rd work session that's part of our training requirement. And as you can see, we have
17th.
Pardon?
I'm sorry.
31st.
31st. 5:30. Okay, my bad.
5:30.
Okay.
5:30 to 8:30 on the 31st.
Dinner.
5 o'clock we'll have food and start at 5:30. As you can see, the blocks are that we'll talk about the final proposed SPLOST 4 schedule and budget. We'll then talk about the general fund budget, what zero-based budgeting means in terms of the process, where we're at, and of course projected expenditures and those kinds of items that'll help prepare us in building the budget. We also have presentations on our title budget. I know that's been a question from the board, so therefore you have a better idea of where we spend our title money and how that implicates our overall budget, the implications. And we'll do significant grant programs that we have, because I think all of those are important in our total expenditures and how they impact or not our operations budget. So I'm looking forward. I think it's a pretty good agenda, but if there's certainly some questions or recommendations, please let me know, and we can certainly take that into consideration. But wanted to get this to you well in advance.
Dr. Leno, I think some of the board members are following you along there, but you should have a sheet at your place there to be find it. Okay? Go ahead, Mr. Banks.
I would just like to say on 31st also, that's our date under the gold dome.
That's right. Do that. We were coming in the morning.
So far, you and Mr. Payne are the only two.
Okay. And that does it. That ends my report for the evening. It's been a really full week. It's got a full day tomorrow. So
Good report.
a lot of good things going.
Yes.
I would have, and I know I might have to sort of move around because I forgot one poster, and I'm going to ask Anissa. Anissa did a wonderful job of putting together our posters for each, and maybe if we have a chance, if we could get one. Somewhere before we break, I'll show you what we do every year is to give each school a poster with their accolades. And we did something different this year that actually shows their performance indicators over the last 2 years. I think when you go into school, you see these colored, and they're very custom. Anissa does a great job. She's been working on them because they have pictures of each school, and I think they're appreciated by the faculty. But it's a good indicator when you walk into school. Again, trying to make our performance data very transparent. So my apologies. I was doing so many things I didn't have it in, but in between our meeting, we'll flash it up and you can see it. So that ends my report.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Leno. You can continue to move the agenda on item E, report of current committees.
Yes, that's the SPLOST 2, SPLOST 3 monthly report. That's in your packet. Recommend approval of the financial report for November.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Mr. Payne on the financial report. Need a second on that. Seconded by Mr. Nunley. Any questions pertaining to the financial report? Any questions? Questions? All in favor? That's a unanimous vote. Motion passed. Okay.
GSB District 11 Directors Report. Okay.
Mr. Superintendent and to our president and to the board, my report tonight will enable you to understand the significance of GSBA and what it has done over the years to make life better for our students, board members, and school districts. I am not a spokesman for the Georgia School Board Association. I cannot be. I'm just a board member, but I support everything that they do because they've done over the years a great job in maintaining, promoting, and recruiting the best of people to do what we need to get done. And I'm very happy to be a part of that. And I want you to listen very closely, because you will learn some things that you didn't know about that we have done over the years in order to make life better for all of us. I had not been on the board of director very long when Gary actually called a meeting of the board. At that time, board members were complaining about their superintendents who lived in small country towns. Some owned large farms, others were store owners and supplies owners. Some had large families and a lot of influence in their communities. Those that were not doing a good job were asked not to run again, but they kept on running. Gary wanted approval to get the legislatures to introduce legislation that would require all board members to be elected, and they would in turn elect the superintendents. This legislation was passed. I was an appointed board member, yet I supported this move. In 1988, public school underwriters folded, went out of business. They had insured most of the school systems in our state. The private companies' premiums skyrocketed. The next 3 years, many school systems had to combine with other systems to pay their premiums. Gary Ashley, then the executive director of GSBA, was approached by many superintendents. They knew that South Carolina, Texas, and other school boards provided insurance for their members. Gary investigated these systems. He then met with the executive committee and the board of directors. They approved the plan and amended our budget. Our going into insurance was not a profit, but for providing a service to our members. Our board of trustees are lawyers, doctors, superintendents, and board members, none of whom are paid 1 penny for their dedicated and committed supporting of each other. We provide many other services that other insurance companies do not provide for their members. Mr. Hardaway can witness that in the early mid-90s, none of the school system received enough maintenance and operation monies to operate funds to maintain our buildings. Roofs were leaking. Many of the classrooms were not air conditioned. Gutters were falling off. Many buildings needed painting. The legislature had passed a special local option sales tax for counties. Gary actually called a meeting of the executive board. He explained that if we could get the county commissioners to let us, the Board of Education, go in with them, we would not be able to get all of the funds that we needed, but it would help with our M&O. We were able to get the legislature introduced. The first year, it did not get out of committee, and there were plenty of opposition. There was editorials by the Municipal Association wrote in Atlanta. There were county commissioners who didn't want the school to get on with them to participate in the local options sale tax. So you would think that the school boards were from another country. I'm happy to say that there was no opposition from our county commissioners or the city council. The second year, it passed the Senate. There was still much opposition. Those editorials from Atlanta, from the Municipal Association, they wrote them every week, and they were published in the GSBA so that we could see them and read them. In November, Gabriel Ashley notified superintendents, board president, and board of directors to lobby our legislators, and we did an excellent lobbying job. We had enough votes that we could not wait for the legislation session to start. We were alerted and ready to come to the Capitol on Tuesday at 9 a.m. We received a call Monday that would not be voting. It had been postponed until Thursday. The Municipal Association had learned that we had enough votes to pass the bill. The Speaker announced that if it would go to the Ways and Means Committee on Thursday. Gabriel Ashley asked all district directors who had a representative on the Ways and Means Committee to come to the meeting on Thursday at 9 a.m. Michael Thurman was my representative on the Ways and Means Committee, so I was there on Thursday morning. We waited until 10:30. The Speaker came out and announced that he would appoint a committee that they would report their decision in December. We knew that the Municipal Association had won and that we had lost. That was a sad day for us. In September, Gabriel Ashley wrote a letter to all superintendents, board presidents, and district directors, asking everyone to invite their senators, representatives, to accompany them on a tour of the buildings. We did. A picture is worth 1,000 words. In the next session, 5 representatives introduced legislation that gave school districts the same rights as commissioners, and we were able to start our SPLOS session. It took 4 years to do that, but we hung in there. We didn't give up. And now we have the best educational buildings in America here in the state of Georgia. There have been many committees since my tenure on the board. I can't remember the first, but the second was Adequate Program for Education in Georgia, APEG. Mr. Worthy, remember that one?
Yes.
It was never totally funded or totally implemented. Dr. Charles McDaniel, the third committee, Quality Basic Education, QBE, it was noteworthy in that it added many new programs. 2 of them were counselors in the elementary school and a study committee to evaluate QBE every 2 years. Yes, you guessed it right. It was never totally implemented, nor was it totally funded. I think the death of Dr. McDaniel had a lot to do with it not being fully funded and totally implemented. As a result, we have lost more than $20 billion in education. The 4th was a lawsuit filed against former Governor Sonny Perdue and the legislature. The name of that committee, the Education Finance Study Committee. The lawsuit was to find out the cost of education and equity. The committee met for more than 3 years, and their finding was status quo, charter schools, and IE square. Over 3 years. This is what they came up with. And the committee was the Education Finance Study Commission. The committee met for more than 3 years. Their finding was, as I quoted, I asked some of the committee members what happened to the cost of education. They said it was dropped after 2 years. Now we come to the most important part of what I have said. I have tried to paint a picture of what we need to move education from the political arena. We need an elected state board of education. And the members of the board would appoint a superintendent who would develop a budget that reflects the needs of education. This person would be a spokesperson for excellence in education 24/7. I hope finally we will know the cost of education. It is so important. This is very important. We cannot continue to look for and receive the type of leadership that is necessary to move us forward until we get an appointed state school superintendent. The state board members should be elected so that they will be responsible to the citizens that elected them. And if they fail to produce the right kind of leadership in Atlanta, we can vote them out of office. That you cannot do that now. And the superintendent should not be held to political, to the governor, or to the legislature. He or she should be independent, working every day for the children and for the education of Georgia. This is what we need, and I hope that you will support the vision. I'm going to ask Dr. Springler now to read just two portions of Springler. All of you had plenty of time to read all of it, but I just want some of those who have not read it to understand what the Vision Project is all about.
So as you know, there are 5 major categories under the Vision Project. He's asked me to read the long-range plan under government leadership and accountability. The long-range steps are to revise Title 20 of the Official Code of Georgia and other education statutes to support the vision. Provide for the appointment of the state school superintendent. Provide for nonpartisan election of state board members by congressional district. Provide for nonpartisan election of all local board members. Develop and adopt a comprehensive statewide accountability system based on clearly established goals for education. Develop and adopt in each school district an accountability system based on local goals that are aligned with state goals, and develop a state procedure for periodic accountability evaluation of local school district performance. And then the back of the vision brochure has a paragraph titled, "The Time is Now." The work is important and it is urgent. The plan is of no value, however, if the vision is not shared, if the principles and values are not embraced, and if people across the state do not make a gut-level connection to the vision. Policymakers at all levels must embrace the vision and affect its implementation to assure that every child receives an appropriate educational experience. The time is now to embrace a new vision and to set a new course for public education in Georgia. Our students deserve no less.
I am happy to report that our county commissioners and those that introduce legislation to have a nonpartisan Board of Education in Clarke County, it passed. And that's how we are elected. And I would hope and trust that we can continue to have the support of the citizens of Clarke County. We live in a great community, a community that supports education, and that's a plus. And I'm very proud to be in this community. And I would hope that after you hearing all that, and that's just a portion of what the Georgia School Board Association does every day for every child in every county in the state. One of the great presidents, and I quote, "Government are the people, for the people, and by the people," unquote. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. Go ahead, Dr. Lynn.
Thank you, Mr. Payne. And before we go to old business, if I could, the poster, I guess, I just wanted to show a little bit, Mr. Hardaway, if you could. These are what represents each one of our schools. Each picture is personalized for each school. You'll notice that we identify their honors and accolades,
Yes.
how they made adequate yearly progress, and this year we graph their performance. So when people come in, you can see immediately what that school is about and at least what they've accomplished in a very, very abbreviated way. So we're real pleased to give each one of our schools those posters. We're doing it through our impact checks, or we'll be meeting with faculty this month. Old business.
Yes.
Given that piece, and let me explain this is with the Visioning Project. as I stated last year, there are two versions of the visioning project. The original, and then one that I presented last year that was, last week rather, that was an edited version with several of the recommendations being left out. Because we approved an agenda with the original and then tabled it, I recommend that we consider action on the tabled recommendation to approve the original version of the resolution for vision for public education, equity, and excellence.
Okay, first of all, let's remove it from the table. Need a motion to remove it from the table. Moved by Dr. Spangler.
Thank you.
Need a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Payne. All in favor of removing this item from the table? Thank you very much. Motion passed.
Opposed? Did you?
Oh, I'm sorry, opposed. Okay. One opposed. Okay.
And then I recommend at this point that we approve the vision, which is the original, for public education, equity, and excellence.
Okay, now version 1, I want to make sure everybody understands this, and you have it highlighted. Version 1 is the original.
Is the original.
Okay, the recommendation from the superintendent for approval of the resolution to support vision project, version 1, which is the original version. I need a motion. Moved by Mr. Nunley, seconded by Mr. Payne. Any questions? Question
Just to
pertaining
confirm, the original is without the exceptions.
That's correct.
Any questions? All in favor of version 1, let it be known by raising your right hand, please. Version 1. Okay? Opposed? One opposed. 8-1.
Okay.
Okay?
Old business, that would be number 2. That would be nominations. I recommend that we remove the name of Pat Britton from the media, from the table to be named after the media center, as we had put on for Winterville Elementary. Sorry, I didn't get that correct. Start that again. I was like, okay. I think I changed words around on that. Let me, Dr. Price is shaking her head. She's going, what was that? Okay. So, this is with regard to the nomination for the Winterville Elementary School. Remove the name of Pat Britton, no wonder it's on here different, from the table and adopt the nomination as presented for the Winterville Elementary School Media Center.
Okay, you did very well.
Let's move that on.
Okay, moved by
All versions of it, I make a motion to
seconded
support.
by Mr. Payne.
Yes.
All in favor of removing this item from the table? Okay, unanimous vote? Okay, all righty. Now, we need a motion to, well, let me have your recommendation.
The recommendation is to name the media center at Winterville Elementary as the Pat Britton Media Center.
Now I need a motion for approval. Okay, moved by Dr. Sprinkler, second by Mr. Payne. Questions pertaining to Ms. Pat Britton, which is the former principal, and having the media center named in honor of her. Any questions? All in favor? Unanimous vote. Motion passed. Okay.
After that, I'm not going to try to read every one of these policies, so let me just try this. As first, could we remove the list of policies from the table, and then I would ask for a recommendation, remove the policies and the regulations, and then I ask for approval of the policies.
Okay, moved by Ms. Thorne. You got a second on that? Seconded by Mr. Huff. All in favor of removing these policies and regulations from the table? Okay, unanimous vote, motion passed. Now, recommendation for approval?
Recommendation for approval.
I need a motion. Okay, moved by Mr. Huff. I have a second by Ms. Williams. Any questions pertaining to any of these policies or regulations? Any questions? Any questions? All in favor? Okay, thank you very much. Motion passed. Okay, we're down to item
G.
G.
New business. Recommend approval of the consent agenda.
Recommendation for approval of the consent agenda, moved by Mr. Huff.
Second.
Second by Mr. Payne. All in favor? All in favor? Okay. Did I get a unanimous vote on that? That's, okay, I didn't see Mr. Thornton's name.
I did.
Okay. Motion passed. Okay. Item 14.
Item 14, and I want to show these on the screen. Why don't I do that first? And these, and thank you, Mr. Huff, for remind us to make sure this was in our e-board because we had it in our data. But I think as we look at adequate yearly progress, we get really focused on exceeding standards and meeting and exceeding standards. And what I think our goal about is really pushing students to exceed standards. So we need to track that data. And I'm real pleased to see the progress that we have made. It starts with the EOCT. You can see some areas where we didn't grow. That purplish red color means we actually are less. So in some of our EOCT courses, you can see where we didn't meet targets. And what we put in for targets, because you can't be as robust with exceed standards, we used a 3% increase a year because we thought 3% would be reasonable every year. But again, as you go into math, you can see our focus on math in high school that we have made our targets, that we are showing 28% of our students exceeding in U.S. history. We look at economics. I think we go down a little bit more. You know, I can't see that far, gosh. 20. Ovita, Miss Thornton, Board Member Thornton can see him.
I can see.
Thank you. But here's the others. Then we get into our CRCT, and of course, this is an area we really want to see our kids grow because that builds capacity in our system. And you can see there are just some terrific results, I believe, for our students. So we look at language arts, all students is 26% exceed standards. Some 27% for grades 6 through 8 in reading, math, 22% 6 through 8. I mean, I think they're self-explanatory, but you can see a lot of green. I think that's what I want to notice. Green is good. And so I won't read them all, but here's some of our Hispanic students, 41.9% exceeded standards. So there are some really good work going on with our students that they're not just pushing for the minimal bar. So these will be added to our targets that I'm asking for approval. Thank you, Board Member Huff, for putting this data in because as you can see, and if you look back to where we were 2 years ago, if you look, for example, at the Hispanic students, we've gone from 20.6 to 41.9 exceeding standards in 2 years. So there's a lot of gains. Or our economically disadvantaged has gone from 14% to 26%. Really large gains, I think, and significant. So with that little extra piece of data and all the data that you saw about our e-board and performance targets, I recommend that we approve the new targets that we will use this year when our AYP data comes in.
Okay, recommendation from the superintendent to approve the new data on the performance targets for the strategic plan. Okay, moved by Mr. Payne, seconded by Mr. Nunnally. Questions? Questions pertaining to information? Go ahead.
Mr. Worthy and to the board members and to the superintendent, I'm just so proud that our young people are making such progress. This tells us that the superintendent and his staff, the teachers are doing what they need to be doing in the classroom. That's important. It shows in the students, and we certainly appreciate all that they are doing.
Thank you, Mr.
Go ahead, Liz.
I just want to take a minute too, because we didn't mention this before, but I think that there's probably no other greater activity than to spend on Dr. Martin Luther King's special day than going back and getting kids back in school. And I can't imagine that there's any other activity that he would rather see our people do. And I just want to thank Dr. Lanu for spending a day that he could be having a day of rest or a day of holiday. And I think that is one of the most remarkable things to do. And so thank you very much. And your team and everybody else who's going to be doing that. I think that is totally commendable and the greatest use of time that there is. So thank you.
Okay.
How many students do you have?
About 60. 50, 55? No, how many? Do you know exactly? Mr. Hardaway knows. What about 50?
We had 68, 10 came back, so somewhere between 50 and 60. We're cleaning that list up.
Right.
We'll have it on Monday. Well, Dr. Lanu, if I may,
yes.
You talked about those packets that we're going to get. The packets will be not generic. They will be tailored to the child. So when I talk to Phil, I'll be able to pull out his transcript. I can tell him how many courses he has got credit for. I can tell him the best pathway he needs to pursue in order to either get a diploma, be it Classic City or the GED program. So they are student specific. So when we sit with them, we won't be talking about, come on back and let's see what we can do.
Right. And that's Rick Dunn. Rick Dunn and social workers and the team under Mr. Hardaway that constructed that model and put that information together to tell and be specific.
Okay, if you don't have any other questions or comments, all in favor of item 14 now? All in favor? That's right. Okay, unanimous vote, motion passed. Executive session.
Members of the board, I recommend executive session for personnel matters to include appointments, transfers, and resignations for legal matters and the acquisition of real estate.
And superintendent.
Oh, and superintendent's evaluation.
Okay, superintendent evaluation.
Didn't really want
Need a motion to go into executive session? Need a motion to go, okay, moved by Dr. Spangler, seconded by Mr. Nunley. Raise your right hand, please. Okay, motion passed. Thank you very much.